I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the well-run suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders, pushing up just like these boulders. This conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers could give out.
Politics and sinners, they all the same. Got me stuck in this endless game, but I won't give up, won't play the role. Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free, God keep on watching over.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to the Urban Conservative. This morning I want to talk about a few things, right? So this episode is called Blood, Power, and Silence, what's really going down in Minnesota. But before I get into all that, I always play independent music. And this morning I have Underwater, Don Tripp. And with that said, I'll be right back right after this.
Yeah, feel like no matter how far I go, I ain't made it far enough. Emotions gon' overflow if I keep them bottled up. Dog eat dog world, try not to get gobbled up. My kids think I'm made of steel, I'm trying not to rush. I teach my babies, end of the day, all we got is us. What good is a harder goal if you don't know who not to trust? The money kept multiplying and niggas kept popping up. They all wanna see me back in the hole like I'm Shia LaBeouf. Come try your luck, push me and see if I budge. I was in need of assistance, I went and got me a plug. I took a leap of faith and believed in my digit scale. Where I come from is eye for an eye till we read in braille. Difficult moving forward, but that's better than backtracking. Gotta watch your back, the people behind you might be backstabbers. Nigga trade on me, just know that ain't no coming back after. Cause I'm the one to blame if I let that happen. I'm the one to blame if I let that happen. Yeah. Wait. I am. I'm just trying to keep from drowning. I'm scared. Yeah. Confusing which is one from the other. Cause it doesn't mean so much in the end. Yeah. They say that pain is just feel leaving the body. I can heal myself, I feel I don't need anybody. I've been through the ringer, left with nobody to call on. I've been through hell and back so many times, it's where I call home. I learned to weather the storm and keep it quiet. You'll never see my troubles, I'd rather suffer in silence. Bet your bottom dollar I'm never running or hiding. I bumped into Kelly Rowland, she told me I'm a survivor. I'm known for making something from nothing, baby. MacGyver. If life's a box of chocolate, I better make mine Godiva. You know the best. I'm Superman in the flesh. I put my all in this game without ever pressing reset. I'm still standing. I'm planted firm. I learned the harder way to value every penny I earned, and for every penny I lost, just know a lesson was taught. Growing up wasn't quite as easy as we thought. Long live Bill. And for every penny I lost, just know a lesson was taught. Growing up wasn't quite as easy as we thought. Long live Bill.
Oh, Don Trip, Underwater. This morning I wanted to start off a little bit. I wanted to play about 10 minutes of this, right? And it's Malcolm X. He gave a speech, and it's basically that we were warned, and that a lot of the things that Malcolm and Martin Luther King and some others were talking about, it's actually happening, right? My belief is that MLK had a lot to do with why we're seeing this big push for, other than, it used to be about black people seeing. Now it's totally changed. And, what people don't understand is like Black Lives Matter and BLM and all that shit is taking a back seat to all this other things like Gaza and Palestine and or Israel and Palestine and Gaza. You know what I'm saying? It's been like Ukraine and Russia, and it's been LGBTQIA, and all these things with gender affirming care. And we've gotten so far away from looking at what's really happening in America. It's not about people aren't being loved because they're now a woman when they were a man growing up. No, it's because we have a lot of uneducated ass people in America. And it's what people don't understand is when we know better, we're supposed to do better. But again, of who do you expect to know better when everybody's indoctrinated? So with that being said, I want to play Malcolm X, We Were Warned.
Tonight, during the few moments that we have, we're going to have a little chat like brothers and sisters and friends and probably enemies too, about the prospects for peace or prospects for freedom in 1965. If you notice, I almost slipped there and said peace. Actually, you can't separate peace from freedom. No one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. You can't separate the two. And this is the thing that makes 1965 so explosive and so dangerous. The people in this country who in the past have been at peace and been peaceful were that way only because they didn't know what freedom was. They let somebody else define it for them. But today, 1965, you find those who have not had freedom and not in a position to define freedom. They're beginning to define it for themselves now. And as they get in a position intellectually to define freedom for themselves, they see that they don't have it. And it makes them less peaceful or less inclined toward peace.
Malcolm X opens this speech by confronting the false sense of peace in America. He questions who really benefits from the promises of freedom. His tone is sharp because the stakes are high. What he describes in 1965 still hits today: inequality, frustration, and the urgency to act. As the speech continues, he turns up the pressure. The next clips show him naming names, breaking down systems, and warning what's coming if things don't change.
So, in discussing this topic tonight, prospects for freedom in 1965, I think we have to go back at least 12 years or 10 years to the time when the struggle of the black man in America began to be projected into the limelight, not only in this country but throughout the world. It started primarily with the Supreme Court decision, so-called desegregation decision, and I should say so-called desegregation, so-called decision, because there has been some doubt as to what they really handed down. One of the main ingredients in the struggle of the black man in America for the past 12 years has been the black Muslim movement. No one can deny the role that the black Muslim movement has played in America during the past 12 years, has been one of the main ingredients in the stepped up militancy on the part of black people throughout this country. No matter what direction the black Muslim movement itself was headed in, no matter what its own organizational philosophy was, and no matter what other people thought about it, no matter what their personal opinions were of the black Muslim movement, still it cannot be denied that that movement, because of its uncompromising stand and uncompromisingly militant approach to things, forced other civil rights organizations to be more militant than they normally would have been, and forced many of the civil rights leaders definitely to be more militant than they ever would have thought of being. So the militancy of the black man in America during the past 10 years, in my opinion, can be traced largely to the existence and presence of the movement, which I'm referring to now for purpose of identification as the black Muslim movement. Its contribution to the black struggle for freedom in this country was militancy. It made many of our people dare to get loud for the first time in 400 years. Many of the black leaders of the civil rights movement dare to get loud for the first time. I mean really loud for the first time in 400, nearly 400 years of our being in this country. They got more militant than they intended to be, and they made many of the people become more militant than they intended for the people to be. It had a chain reaction effect that actually got out of control somewhat, because the leaders themselves never intended and intend for our people to go too far. Their primary purpose in our midst has always been to contain our struggle, not lead our struggle. Proof of which, seldom are they seen until the irresponsible elements in the black community begin to explode. And then they go all the way around the country to grab one of them from wherever he's traveling and bring him in to cool things down, to tell us to be cool, or tell us to take it easy, don't rock the boat. This is their function, this is their role. At least it has been up until recent times. They never have been put in the role that they're in with the intention by the one who puts them there of them leading us into any uncompromising and militant struggle. But the existence of some of the Muslim groups and the black nationalist groups that couldn't be controlled by the power structure downtown, and I only use the expression power structure downtown to keep from calling it what it actually is. These nationalist elements actually serve their purpose in that sense. They gave respectability to the civil rights groups and gave acceptability to the civil rights groups. 10 years ago or more, the NAACP was looked upon as a radical, leftist, almost subversive movement. And then when the black Muslim movement came along, the power structure said, thank the Lord for Roy Wilkins and the NAACP.
Wow.
In the Congo also, the People's
You know what's crazy? Because that is true. There is documentation and proof and evidence of that. Like J. Edgar Hoover in America basically said the leaders of that, thank God for Louis Farrakhan and Malcolm X and I forget the other guy's name, Elijah Muhammad. because they would rather deal with that kumbaya, because they were Malcolm X, or not Malcolm X, Martin Luther King didn't teach self-defense. He taught to sit there and take it. So while you're getting beat, and what's happened in America, people are more satisfied with getting beat, bless up, with getting beat, and just sitting there taking it instead of doing the right thing. And that's what we're seeing. You know, that's what's crazy is a lot of people, and it's like, I've been through a journey through this. You know, I started off as a progressive, liberal, whatever. I honestly, I don't even believe I was that. It was, in my eyes, that was the people fighting for Black lives. That was the people fighting for Black lives, right? And that's the part of the people that I wanted to be with. But then I seen that they were getting all this money. Well, what's changing in the community? What's changing in the community? It's getting worse. So then I started to say, wait. So then when the babies got shot and BLM wasn't pulling up for Anaya or Trinity or LaDavion, I was like, wait, what? What? Is this really about Black Lives Matter? Or is this about we only care about the Black lives that will pay us? And I'm like, we put such a name on black violence, right? That's what we call it. When we really got to look at the conditions of these areas and wonder why it's only Black people or brown people over there. Because I will tell you right now is that most white people don't want to live in those conditions. That's why. Because to them, it's like another third world country. It's like a third world country to them. You know, and they want, that's the whole thing about right now with the homeless encampments and shit, right? The homeless encampments. And, oh, they're vanished. No, you've only made them people go inside because they're scared to be arrested. For being homeless, for having nowhere to live, we're criminalizing them. But then yet they're still committing crimes because now they're squatters. They're in abandoned buildings. So now you can bring that police force, that law enforcement presence even more heavy. We got to understand that this isn't about Republicans and Democrats. This is about the people. When are we going to stand up? You know, a lot of it was when America was able to become America. Does people even know how that started? It was political violence. How can we not sit here and talk that America was not America because it's built off political violence? Nobody wants to talk about the Boston Tea Party, taxation without representation. Wasn't that what a lot of that was about? They were being taxed but couldn't say anything. It didn't matter if their opinion, their perspective. But they wanted that money. So how is that not extortion? How is that not embezzlement? We have a history of bamboozlement all throughout history, and nobody says nothing. Nobody says nothing. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. And that's why, you know, I was asked the other day of who do I study throughout history? And basically I said it. You know, I studied Marcus Garvey in that movement, UNIA. United Negro Independent Association. You know, I followed that. And that's why I found out that Malcolm's parents were a part of UNIA. Then I looked at Black Wall Street. I looked at Rosewood. And I seen all this Black security because we were doing better before all this civil rights bullshit. I'm going to be honest. Before, if anybody wants to compare data and statistics, let's do it. Because yes, there was Jim Crow. I'm not going to sit there and lie. There was the Reconstruction. There was black codes. But I will tell you like this, when motherfuckers wasn't out here fighting and just wanted to be better and not be seen, because I will tell you like this, when people started to fight because they wanted to be seen, that's when the problem started. When MLK, because that's the whole thing of it is, niggas was satisfied with going inside of a white diner. Going inside of a white diner, but not making sure that we got equity in our communities. Y'all were more considered, more glad with being that ghetto rich or that ghetto nigga. And the white people look at you like, oh, you a superstar, you're a leader. We've gotten so egoish out here that we don't even know the difference between right and wrong anymore. And that's what's sad. We let money control what we think is right and what we think is wrong. Let's be honest. We think because, oh, well, it's paid, they're okay. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And the same thing goes with the police departments, law enforcement. You can't sit out here and kill an unarmed black man or an unarmed a white man and think that that's okay, because that's wrong. I don't care. Man, laws have made it possible for you to get away with murders. Because nobody wants to go by the 10 Commandments. I love this constitutionalism because most people don't even understand what it is. They don't even understand that Minnesota's got its own constitution. They don't even understand that that's different than the federal constitution. They don't even understand that America and predominantly in Minnesota, we have treaties. Nobody ever wants to talk about those treaties that we have because those come up. Why do we think that there's a lot of laws here for Native American communities? Because we've already made prior agreements to them way before all these Chicago people wanted to run for office, all before these people from Boston or Nebraska, all before these people ever wanted to come over here and fuck up this Minnesota nice, because we were once Minnesota nice. Even though we knew people didn't like us. We knew it. We didn't publicize it. That's the one thing that I will say. We did never popularized. Because what's different now between when MLK and then we're singing Kumbaya to we out here singing the other side of America and twerking, because they were doing the same shit. They were singing Kumbaya and street dancing and all that. And we think we're doing the same shit. We're doing the same old things because, first of all, when a society or community or neighborhood doesn't know what it's doing, it tends to just follow along and be followers. So that's why we got these street dances, we got these twerking, we got these march and rallies. And then when people want to sit here and do boycotts or sit downs, you see people, oh no, I don't think that's going to work. That's the one thing that I will tell you. Ask Nakima and them and BLM why they didn't want to be a part of Derek Chauvin's trial when we took over downtown Minneapolis. Because I didn't see none of them down there. We were getting talked about more. when niggas wanted to make real change, because I will tell you like this, I didn't want to be a part. This is the one thing. I didn't want to be famous. I didn't care about no fame. I didn't care about no clout. I've been to prison for things that I haven't done. So have other people. So why can't I go to prison for doing something that I wanted to do in the right that I feel like by any means necessary? Because I don't want people out there calling me no track star. Like I can say about Jonathan McKellen, like I can say about Jolly Red Ginger. When it comes time for some action, these niggas is in diapers. They're babies. And I'm going to be straight up, because where are most people that in Minneapolis that call themselves leaders, where have they been at when it's time to be on the front lines? They'll say, oh, we're communicating. How did 646 people get arrested on I-94? That's because we communicate with our oppressor. And I'm going to tell you something about the 646 in Minneapolis. Why did the leaders all get off before we ever had our first court dates? That's a lot of shit that y'all never want to talk about. And most people like, how do you even know these people's information? Why don't you ask the Hennepin County courthouse why I got 22 different leaders from the Kima, Marquise, to Jess, to Jay, to TCC for Jay. There's a lot of shit. I got a lot. Chantel, I have all their addresses in court papers. Same thing with Jonathan Mason. I live in Minneapolis. No, you don't, nigga. Why do I don't understand it? Why do people lie and it's so easy to figure out if people are telling the truth or not? It's that most people don't want to do their homework and research. Because I can tell you right now that L got on Camel J 89.9 and lied to North Minneapolis. Lied. And a lot of people won't call that out. Because I'm going to tell you like this. A lot of people in North Minneapolis are scared. Because you're not going to see people. On a Sunday, community conversations, you had a nigga get up there and lie to Minneapolis. Talking about that was a black founded. No, it wasn't. Look up and see how Camel J was founded in North Minneapolis. They were founded by the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. We got people out here that are lying to us and we believe that that's the truth. And then when they go to court, in court hearings, and this comes out in court transcripts, or this comes out and all kinds of other shit, y'all want to be like, oh, well, they're the police, so we're not going to listen to that. These are people that pay y'all. That's what I don't understand. These are people that pay y'all. Any organization, nonprofit in Minneapolis, damn near is getting their funds from the state of Minnesota or from a city entity. So you tell me how that's not an oppressor, because you can't be a nonprofit without getting money from your oppressors. I'm going to be honest. And I'm all for small government, but I don't like how government has been a part of every part of our lives right now. When it comes to school, when it comes to even our health care. How does our health care come down to if you're a Republican or Democrat? It shouldn't even be like that in our judicial system. It shouldn't even be like that in city politics. But yet it is. When these are nonpartisan seats. Nonpartisan. They don't care about your policies. They care about if you're a Democrat or Republican. They don't care about if you want to see the community succeed. They care about if you're a Democrat or Republican. That's all they care about, if you're a Democrat or Republican. And if you're a Republican, that's what I don't understand. You just no, that's why I consider myself a conservative, because y'all are not going to put me in that boat as these Republicans. No, we don't agree. There's a lot of things right now that are going on in Minnesota that I'm going to definitely get in today, because even when the CSI ethics investigation, and there wasn't one done, because they didn't see that there was anything wrong. And that's what I'm going harder, because I'm going to make people see. I don't care about, I'm just going to put it like this. This is why I cut off a lot of people, because I understand what's about to come out with Bobby Champion and all them. They're going to understand. They're going to be like, well, CSI didn't see nothing wrong. Well, first of all, there was never an investigation into the CSI but ethics complaints. There was nothing. There was no investigation, because Sandra Pappas and the DFL didn't believe that they did anything wrong, Bobby or Jeff. They don't believe that when people from that community are telling them something. Well, that's not what the people that we pay are saying, because you pay them to say what you want. Why don't people see that? Because I will tell you right now, I got from yesterday from VTAW, and I'm not trying to talk shit. I'm just saying, or disrespect or anything like that. I got about violence interruption, because they opened it. It's like 27 days or whatever. So I looked at it, but I'm like, damn, how did they change anything if this contract is from 2019? It's 2025. So why haven't we changed any wording in these contracts? And that's one thing that I looked at that shit last night, and yesterday gave me a badass headache, because there's a lot of shit I'm dealing with right now. You know what I'm saying? So it just frustrates me when I feel like we can do better, but we're not doing better because people don't want to educate themselves. They would continually rather be stupid and look the other way, because they don't want to feel bamboozled. I get it. I didn't either. We all have to go through it. We all do, to see that these people don't care. And to be honest, I don't know when we will ever get it. Because you can hear Malcolm talking about this all the way back. And a lot of people won't even understand what Roy Wilkins was from St. Paul, Minnesota. Does anybody know why the Roy Wilkins Auditorium is here? So how is the man that wrote something about Emmett Till, how are we not bringing that up? I don't understand. That's why I know man, people ain't serious. They're not serious. And I will tell you like this, not many respond back, but I got to give it up to some because they do. I'm going to, listen, you're not going to have an explanation for everything. Sooner or later, you're going to get caught up because even when you say that, well, the money's not from, well, yes, it is, because who did they get the money from? Who did they get the money from? So how are we funding our own communities and ourselves when people are, that's the one thing that you guys don't want to understand, that money, it's like strings, right? So even though that money you're saying is coming from a Black organization, where did y'all get that money from? Because you got that money from the state, or you probably got that funding from USAID, that USAID, or federal money. Oh, you're not a city entities. You didn't do this being no self-made. You didn't get it out of the mud, because we don't support each other like that. That's why you see how many Black people do you see like a billionaire status? Because I hear more about Elon. I hear more about Bill Gates. I hear more about George Soros. But when I hear about billionaire Black men, they want to bring up P. Diddy, or they want to bring up Bill Cosby, or they want to bring up, Jay-Z, who got all these ridiculous ass rumors around them. There's more other Black men that are successful that don't need to be in that type of cutthroat business, that have done it for themselves. We don't talk about Bridgman's. He played in the NBA and why do you think we got all these Bridgman's ice creams? Even Shaq, look at Shaq, got all these movie theaters. He got all these Starbucks. I don't agree with a lot of it, but he's taken advantage of a system, and he does help out. I'll tell you like this. I don't think there's not a week that goes by I don't see something about Shaq. He's either at the Walmart buying everybody who's in there something, or he's at the movie theaters. I'm not speaking highly of these people. I'm just saying we have to give credit when credit is due. Because some of these, just because we don't live around it, doesn't mean that stuff isn't being done. We need to form together and do something bigger. Because we can, instead of arguing about who controls the purse strings, because I know I do it. I'm just pointing out who we need to leave alone because they're paid by a system that doesn't want to change. And that's what if people don't realize what we're facing in America, we have some really big ass issues. We got some really big problems because you weren't paying attention in school. You were being fed what they wanted to feed you. You weren't out here getting it yourself. You've either bought into a system or you're either a part of the system. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't know how many times since 2025 that I've seen individuals talking about, oh, I'll never take the money. And then all of a sudden you see people take the money. Because I ain't never seen, I'll tell you like this, as being somebody that was in another part of that world, right? I ain't ever seen so many black people that have nonprofits, that work for nonprofits, take vacations, buy houses, new cars, and then who are they getting paid by? That's what you got to look at. Come on. Even when you can bring up somebody, even Saham Journal, Georgia Fort, NPR, Star Tribune, they're all paid. They all have, that's the one crazy thing that I will say is that even when it comes to Alpha News, they get paid by the same people. But we understand that that's the uniparty, right? Even though I'll give it up, hands up to Liz Collin and Alpha News, because they really talk more shit than a little bit. And I love it. So let me get back to this real quick because I know I rambled probably too long.
Republic of the Congo, headquartered at Stanleyville, fought the war for freedom against Chomby, who was an agent of Western imperialism. And by Western imperialism, I mean that which is headquartered in the United States in the State Department. In 1964, this government, subsidizing Chomby, the murderer of Lumumba, and Chomby's mercenaries, hired killers from South Africa, along with the former colonial power Belgium, dropped paratroopers on the people of the Congo, used Cubans that they had trained to drop bombs on the people of the Congo with American-made planes.
Damn. That's the one thing. So I'm just going to cut this off a little bit because I know I rambled a little bit. But Laverne brings up a very good point. And that's one thing that I've done in my research is I looked at the Hallman Heritage Park project. That's when they got rid of Sumner projects. Okay. I have seen them get money. So I'm just saying, like, I've seen, and I'll put it out here that they have got money from the Minneapolis Foundation, or even I believe it was the McKnight and Wilder. They've and they put it out there that I'm not saying Alpha News does, but the foundations do. I'm not saying anything bad. I understand it. It's all part of a game, you know, because if it was really honestly, like I said, I do feel bad for Thomas Kuhn, but why aren't we going at Minneapolis PD to pay this man instead of, because they're the ones that railroaded him. They're the ones that made him sit in prison. His co-workers. I'm going to be honest, because if you look back at the history of Minneapolis police, all you see is dirty ass shit. Just like the same thing that I seen with Heritage Park and Hallman Project. There was so much money, but nobody understood where it was going. Even when the tornadoes came through in 2011, who got a majority of the money to fix North Minneapolis to look beautiful, spotless? It was our community leaders. And what does it look like? Shit. Because I will tell you like this, North Minneapolis looks like shit. And why? Because that's why they want it to look, so then they can come in with their plans and do what they want. Yeah. No, I'm not saying that I understand of like the system and being that these foundations are funded by the government. That's who funds them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you look at like a lot of these foundations, even like Mayo Clinic, how is that a nonprofit? Even though some of it is for profit, but you make billions of dollars, billions of dollars. And you're trying to gentrify a community. It's okay. I wanted to ask you about that, right? So isn't her daughter on just became the Minneapolis superintendent? Because I swear to God, I just seen something with, there was Sharon Sales Adams, and then there was another picture with a black woman. And I'm like, wait, is that? So I thought that was crazy because I just seen that not too long ago. It was like about a couple weeks ago. There was a picture of them when Minneapolis Public Schools picked a new superintendent. It looked like it was her daughter, the old mayor's daughter. So I was like, damn, this shit it's a cycle. The same thing when it comes to Minneapolis Foundation and R.T. Ryback, because who's his number two? Chaz Dixon. So it's wild. There's a lot of shit. And nobody actually wants to talk about it. I shouldn't say nobody, but there's a lot of people that would rather keep it as skeletons. Oh yeah, they are. I'm not saying that they're it's all, they all get money from the state, and that's why you're going to see a lot of, I feel like in Minnesota you're going to see a lot of chaos, because when you look at these people losing their jobs, or you're coming to find out like, damn, department was a part of that, or where they worked at. So I mean, I live around Mayo Clinic, so I'm seeing things of them getting contracts cut and them getting rid of employees. Just like there was a building that is supposed to be going in Stewartville that was going to generate that area with millions of dollars. But because of what was coming and because of what Trump is doing with his policies and initiatives, getting rid of some of this, you're not seeing that transhumanism still going in there the way that it was. And a lot of people didn't want to talk about that. But there is people like Wes Lund, or there's people like Joe Chivist that actually are talking about things of like, I don't agree with them in the same manner that they discuss it, because I hit it from a different point of view of like gentrification, of them trying to get rid of historical things, just like how they did with Aunt Jemima, how they did with Uncle Ben. They trying to get rid of Black history. So let me go on to this RICO and retaliation. Nope, that's the wrong road. I got the wrong heading. Up there because I'm going into the Roseville betrayal first. And if people haven't heard about this in the Twin Cities, is about a man that I'm not giving him an excuse. I'm just saying that he's on the spectrum. And he was doing this to kids. And it's like in a church, when people that we're supposed to take care, and that's supposed to be a sacred ground, we're seeing more evilness come out of, things like this. So
is in jail after prosecutors say he sexually assaulted several young children.
But this isn't the first time police have investigated reports that he hit someone. Fox 9's Mike Manzoni looked into the volunteer past. Mike, prosecutors once called him, as I understand this, a risk of safety.
And Randy, that was just 3 years ago when they charged Joshua Seaman with criminal sexual conduct after prosecutors say he sexually assaulted a mentally impaired woman in a White Bear Lake park. At that time, court records mention that he faced similar accusations on at least 4 occasions, going back more than 20 years. Now, all of those allegations involved mentally impaired adults. The question tonight is how he ended up volunteering at King of Kings Lutheran School in Roseville if prosecutors had once charged him with sexually assaulting a woman. Now that charge was in 2022. It's unclear when he started volunteering at the school. As for why he's in jail tonight, prosecutors say the 50-year-old sexually assaulted 4 children between the ages of 4 and 6. Investigators say the abuse happened at the school over the last 2 months. Now, Seaman faced sexual assault allegations in 2001, 2006, 2014, and again in 2015. But in every one of those cases, prosecutors decided not to charge him because of his mental disability. They did, however, charge him in that 2022 case, but that's now on hold because a court found him incompetent to move forward.
So what's the
legal guardian is his brother, and he was under a conservatorship for 20 years because he couldn't care for himself. An attorney who is not involved in the case says it's often tough for prosecutors when the suspect's mental status is in question.
Other than committing them to a facility without charges where they could actually hold them, there really is nothing else they can do. Their options are either to do testing of the individual, and with those testings, they see what a doctor says about it. And then if the doctor says that they're incapable of providing their own defense or they're incapable of making a decision, then they can move for such a commitment.
And prosecutors say they have made multiple attempts to get Seaman held, but it's unclear what that included. Since they won't comment, we reached out to the school repeatedly since Friday, but haven't heard back. Randy, Kelsey?
Crazy as hell. Sunday school. To be honest, so I don't even know. Because I understand, like, when I was coaching summer basketball at AAU, I had to go through a process even to be able to go in middle schools or even to coach. I had to, because I am a sex offender, I'm registered, right? So I had to go through a process to be able to be on the sidelines and coach. And I went through all that. And I don't understand why we do that for some people, but others we don't. And that's wild as hell. That's really, 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 really wild to me that we're seeing stories like this, even with Abdul Wright. you know, out of Minneapolis, even with the other guy at the teacher with the same school. We have to act up. I mean, not act up, act out. She didn't even say that, act out, but stand out. We got to speak out. We can't be silent because these are our kids. I can tell you like this. People think that because we see that in Minneapolis or we see it in like Duluth or like Rochester or Albert Lee, it's coming to a city near you. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Because I'll tell you right now is that, and I hear this all the time. Well, you got such a potty mouth. I don't care. Because the only reason why you're paying attention now is because it will affect you. Because before that, you didn't care. You just like talking about and deciding what happened about Minneapolis and St. Paul. But a lot of y'all were sitting on the couch. Let's be honest. A lot of people were sitting on the couch watching their own movies, right? I don't understand how this shit is wild. I'll be honest. I don't even this is crazy as hell. Right. No, I don't, to be honest, I don't know how. Maybe it's the guy's color. Maybe it was because they thought he had mental disabilities. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what these people were thinking. That makes me decide of like, even when people ask me, well, why are you going at Mary Franson? Why would somebody with allegations like that, right? That came out in court, because this the whole thing of it is, you're telling me that what's all in these lawsuits were lies. So, like, in the stories that I'm getting, people are promiscuous, they're having relationships, and then that goes into like the research that I have with like Tim Kelly. You know, then it goes into with even Eichhorn, with even Anton Lazaro. So to me, DFL likes criminals because we can go with Bobby Champion, we can go with Cedric Frazier, we can go with Nicole Miller. You know, then you get on the GOP, y'all like all different kinds of shit. It's just about right and wrong. We shouldn't see politics in this. It shouldn't be about if the person's a Democrat or if the person's a Republican. It should be is it right or wrong? And it shouldn't matter if it's, oh, well, there's a system for this. Well, depending on what color. Because I will tell you like this, right now, the DFL is really holding on tight. They're really holding on tight because you see a lot of, even these followers will come out here and stick up for what happened to, I shouldn't even, what Keith Ellison did. Well, he wasn't a part of it. Yes, he was. No matter if you want to honestly look at it and be like, well, there was nothing wrong with it. You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem that we even allow these type of things. Why is the Attorney General even talking to people who were convicted and feeding our future? And he knew there was an investigation going on. And then we hear on audio, even though he tries to hush them up and to steer them in other directions, it doesn't mean that off the record, I don't even know, that wasn't really on the record, that audio, but I can guarantee it, when they talked about donations, it was never no chances of maybe audio, because I always ask that. That's one thing that I ask people, what type of evidence do you have? I don't go into this shit without nothing. Y'all be thinking I just be coming out here with smoke and mirrors. No, buddy, it ain't like that. There's actual evidence behind a lot of this shit. And the thing about Lisa Clements killing a black man, I had heard the stories. So I knew at some point I would always get something that would be from a news article, or I would get something that was read up. I didn't understand that I was going to meet the person's family. And that's by the grace of God. Because when you're out here doing good work, people see that. They see that. And I'm going to continue speaking out. I'm going to continue. I know a lot of people in Red Wing right now, they don't agree with me. And I know you didn't mean it on purpose, Mike, but I think especially with your post about, you know, Juneteenth and Red Wing, it pulled a lot of people in a bad way. And I don't believe you were going that direction. And I think that is a lot of it, is that we These people that are going at you were once your cheerleaders, were once on your side. And the one minute you do something that they don't deem that is worthy of your loyalty and love, they go against you. And I will never understand that, of how, if you don't put yourself, and I read the text messages, I agree with everything you said. There isn't anything in there about the HRO and about why should we have to do something different to make other people feel comfortable. That's not our job. That's not our job. And if it is, here's the crazy thing. If it's about the kids, why does she need to be involved? At any point, this is a black Juneteenth. Juneteenth isn't no July 4th. This is it's a Black Freedom Day. It's about Black freedom. But we have a government, our governments have allowed this to be a shit show. So now if you're white, you're right when it comes to Juneteenth, and we've allowed that. The same thing somebody posted about Royce White. And I said, to be honest, I don't even believe that's his sign, because it says he was BLM endorsed. To me, that's y'all Republicans fucking with somebody that the streets really fucks with. Maybe not all of us, but a lot of us do, especially if you came from that side of life of being, I shouldn't say that, from the streets or whatever, because I'm sure some people from the streets probably look at him. I know, maybe that's why Mason don't look at him the same anymore. And I would die on a stance between Royce and BLM and all that, because maybe they did make it seem like they were together. If you had ever been to a 10K rally and a BLM rally, you could tell the difference. BLM wasn't going to federal buildings. They weren't going to the Fed. Right? They weren't going to the Fed. They weren't going to do things on highways. They weren't going out to, not saying that I agree with everything Royce and Mason was doing, but BLM wasn't trying to do the things. They were trying to, I should say, stop the things that they were trying to do, because they were judging. They didn't want us to get real change. And then I see people that, even today, people that are supposed to be part of the change, and they're taking pictures with people who would rather see our demise. That's the one crazy part that I will never understand, is that we take pictures with people because we care more about that clout and fame, than we do about anything else. I will never understand that. People care more about feeling comfortable, because even when Amber Plank got up and talked at Red Wing City Council last night, and you looked into the crowd, or you even looked at the people she was talking to in the council, it's like, do we honestly believe that people sit up there? And because I've been a part of that. You get up there and you're speaking to people that can never feel your experience, that can never, don't even want to put their self in your shoes. They say they're listening. I don't know how many times that people, because we all know that. So here's my thing of it is, right? If Obsestis is wild in a house, and you're calling your city council and your licensed people and your inspections, because, people have been sick in Red Wing because of shitty properties. And when you go to the city, your leaders, your elected officials, and the people that are supposed to run your city, and they care more about protecting the landlords and the property owners than protecting the tenants, we have a serious fucking problem. And I'm starting to believe that everything that I ever had was a part of in Red Wing was fraudulent. Because people want to talk about the money. Y'all, we talk about Twin Cities and St. Paul and Minneapolis. Let's talk about Red Wing. Let's talk about that phony ass city council. Let's talk about Kermit the Frog. Let's talk about how, people's ethics and conflicts of interest are so fucked up, because I will tell you right now, people act like I didn't have money offered to me. offered to me so I would be quiet. They were going to give me a building in Red Wing, Minnesota for Red Wing Area Mutual Aid. They would help me put a window in there. They would help me put doors and walls. I would have a budget to fix it up. That's what's crazy. Nobody wants to talk about that. And if we honestly dealt with the shit that we dealt with, instead of sweeping it under the rug, it's wild. It's wild. Because you know what's crazy is I had somebody ask me who was Shaquita Hurd in Red Wing, Minnesota. You didn't understand what the police did to her? That's why we're seeing things of continuous acts of racism, of white supremacy in Red Wing, is because we allow these other acts to go with no accountability. They're just slaps on the wrist. There's nothing. They've never been accountable for Shaquita Hurd. They paid Shaquita, but they never said that. He never apologized for hearing the words. He said that he heard shoot when she said shoot. And I've seen that video. I wish I could find it on Facebook, because I think they got rid of my other page, Chaz Neal for Human Rights Commission, because I don't see it anymore. So I think, and that's why I did have the video, because there is a video out there of that incident between the police and Shaquita Hurd on Facebook. And you hear not the black woman say, shoot, but she was going to sue them. Sue them. But they took it as she was going to shoot them, even though she ain't had no weapons on her. That's how these areas are. It's the same thing with Winker Days. The same thing. You're still seeing the same shit. But not everybody want to be powerful. I'll tell you right now is that, and I think Mike will agree with me, right? Is that no matter the things that I wanted to do in Red Wing, Minnesota, I had a lot of opposition from both sides, from the black people and the white people. Because I got called militant and I got called, this and that. But I never got called that I just wanted to do the right thing for my community. I never got called that. And it pissed me off a long time. It pissed me off because now the things that I'm seeing, in Red Wing, and I honestly felt like we could have dealt with this shit 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And a lot of people wanted to be, oh, well, that's my friend. Nobody wants to talk about Siri Everett or Becky Norton, or, I brought up Mike Wilson, Mayor Mike Wilson today, because that is one person that, especially when it came to these rental properties, that is a man that I could have conversations with. You know what I'm saying? I could honestly feel like he was trying to do the same thing I said about Pam Altendorf. When I talk to her, I honestly do feel like she's listening. You know what I'm saying? She's giving me solutions or ways to try to fix this. The same thing that, I did tell Pamela Lang that I would get back to her about this petition in Waukesha County. And I'm almost done with it. I want to go at it, these people, in a certain way. I don't want to, because I'm not done. Even in Red Wing, I understand that I authored the proclamation proclaiming racism a public health crisis, or that I was even a part of this, the rental codes and licensing down in Red Wing. I'm not saying that I wrote it. I was a part of it. Or even with the SREAP. And it's like, what are we doing? We got all these words, but then there's loopholes. So I will never understand it. I will never, never, never understand it. Because it was over a year that I fought for my proclamation in Red Wing. And I mean, I worked with Minneapolis City Council members. I worked with people in Red Wing. And I was trying to make it sure that it was for everybody. But I wasn't going to, because they felt like it was too militant, or it was too this, it was too that. Listen, it was just about doing the right thing. And I know y'all don't like doing the right thing, but that's what it was about. It was about us doing the right thing. It was about us doing the right thing for our community as one. It wasn't about us looking at each other and believing that there was a difference. No, it was about us taking care of each other, getting back to that village, because I believe that we can get there. I believe that when we get these people that confuse our communities, that say they fight for us, like the Nakimas or the Black Lives Matter or these other organizations like the NAACP, say that they fight for us. But when you find out who they get their money from, how are you fighting for us? Because if you're really fighting for us, that they would shut your money down. They wouldn't pay you. Why would they pay you to shut them down? So when I hear the words of abolish the police or how are y'all abolishing the police if they're paying y'all to say that shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even understand that. That's like an oxymoron to me. And how can y'all say that? If you get paid by the city, you're a piggy. But then yet when you look at these 990 forms and you see where you get your grants and a lot of your donations, and you're saying like, damn, that's a city worker. Oh shit, that's from a city entity. And you're like, oh, that's crazy as hell. So y'all basically going out here telling people that if y'all get paid by the city, you're a piggy. But y'all get paid by the city. So doesn't that make y'all piggy? Oink, oink.
Minneapolis has fallen to pre-pandemic levels, and law enforcement leaders say a focus on Minneapolis street gangs is a big reason why. Lou Raguse sat in on the second major RICO trial today and explains how federal prosecutors are approaching gangs like the mafia.
This is the second major RICO trial where federal prosecutors are treating Minneapolis street gang members the same as members of the mob. In the first trial, all the defendants were found guilty on all counts. Today, the jury heard testimony from a cooperating defendant, a former gang member, about how the highs operate.
These three men, Dantrell Johnson, Gregory Hamilton, and Keon Pruitt, are allegedly members of the Highs Street Gang, which claims territory in Minneapolis north of West Broadway and feuds with rival members of the Lowe's Gang, whose territory is south of West Broadway. In their federal trial for RICO, prosecutors are showing the jury evidence of drug trafficking and murder they argue these defendants committed for the benefit of their gang. For example, a Highs gang member was murdered outside the Winter gas station, a Highs hangout, in August 2021. At a memorial that grew, prosecutors say the three defendants and others plotted revenge. The jury saw this footage of the defendants the next day finding Darrell Wells, who they thought was the killer, at Skyline Market, a Lowe's hangout. Prosecutors told the jury these images show the defendants chasing Wells outside and murdering him in the street as retaliation. And as it turned out, the prosecution says Wells was not even affiliated with a gang. Highs member Jovan Knight, who's already pleaded guilty to RICO, testified about that shooting and others to help prosecutors. But his cross-examination helped the defense when he said the Highs are loosely organized without leaders.
These gang members behave just like traditional mob members.
After former U.S. Attorney Andy Lugar initiated the strategy to charge street gang members with RICO, the law that was used to take down the mob, crime stats show violence in North Minneapolis has dropped to within pre-pandemic levels.
So that is evidence that this strategy is working.
MPD Chief Brian O'Hara and others credit the RICO charges.
These three defendants are already serving the next 19 years in prison after being convicted in state court. If they're convicted in federal court here, they could face up to life. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Lou.
That's crazy. And a lot of people won't even say that that's going on in Minneapolis or that we're even facing that. They want to say that the crime is down. That's not the case. That's not the case. And honestly, the same way they're using this RICO to go at gangs, we want to use it to go at these nonprofits and these political leaders. We want to use the RICO the same way that y'all want to use them on these black gangs. Because there's enough proof to prove aiding and abetting, to prove conflicts of interests, to prove ethics violations. But because we don't have the right politicians at that time to do the right thing, because it was more about politics, wasn't about, oh, we're going to do what was right for the community. Wait, so it was Luger or 21 Days of Peace, or was 21 Days of Peace involved with the FBI, Lipinski, Jensen, Hayer, all used on RICO, lying cops. Right. And you know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to talk about that because how many people have been through the mud over this, and we still act like it's just another day. I will never understand it. I will never understand it. How, well, miss I do, because money talks, bullshit walks. So I do understand it. I definitely do understand it. I'm not saying that I didn't. And I understand that people are killers, that some people die for this shit. Because when you bite the hand that feeds you, there is consequences. There is repercussions. And not everybody is built for that heat. Everybody isn't built for that type of pressure. Some people aren't built for that type of drama, because at the end of the day, some people like to sit here and be part of the crowd, but not on the front lines. And I will keep it at that. But I want to talk about this scare that happened at United Healthcare yesterday out in Minnetonka, which was really crazy to me because everybody understands what happened, why Luigi and the CEO of United Health were in the news. Now, why is it that we're talking about United Healthcare again? And with that being said, I want to go into this story.
Developing tonight, the local man family says planned to shoot through the front doors of United Healthcare today is behind bars in Hennepin County awaiting potential charges. He is identified by family as Ian Wagner. Police tell us so far there's no indication he had specific grievances against the Minnetonka-based company. And late tonight, United Healthcare put out its first statement saying they're grateful for the quick action of law enforcement. All of this happened 4 months after the health insurance provider CEO, Brian Thompson, was gunned down in Manhattan. Jay Coles has been digging into Wagner's background. He's live in Minnetonka to tell us what he has learned. Jay?
Kevin, there were some tense moments here at the corporate headquarters for United Healthcare in Minnetonka when Ian Wagner showed up. Now, we found out there were 2 arrest warrants for Ian Wagner and multiple restraining orders. And his mother tells us that he told her he wanted to come here to send a message. 26-year-old Ian Wagner is booked into the Hennepin County Jail. His mother tells us her son was arrested after he went to United Healthcare's headquarters in Minnetonka.
Yeah, I know who it was. Who was it? It was my son.
But Cheryl Wagner says he did not intend to hurt anyone. She says he was trying to send a message to the judicial system.
He was there because he was upset about how his case was handled in the courts.
Wagner told our Ryan Raish her son has mental health issues, but he did not have a claim denied by United Healthcare.
Did police tell you exactly what he did? Was he able to get into the building at all?
No, he was just outside the building, and he told me that he was going to shoot into the building.
Okay. Do you think he was going to do that?
No.
But he told you he was going to shoot into the building?
Yes, he said that he was going to say that he was going to do that to get attention.
We found Wagner has 2 outstanding arrest warrants, one for violating probation following a conviction of making threats. He also has multiple restraining orders. This order says Wagner harassed a woman and her children and ripped the license plate off the petitioner's car in Duluth, and the petitioner's family found unusual axe heads and agates and a metal ball left in their yard. His mother says part of the message he wanted to get out was his unhappiness with those restraining orders.
No, he's never intended to hurt anybody, ever. He's not a violent person.
Minnetonka police say the FBI was called in and negotiated with Wagner. Police say those talks were helpful and Wagner eventually surrendered peacefully. Sources tell us a weapon was found on the front seat of his car after a morning of uncertainty for those nearby.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell's going on? Next thing you know, there's drones flying over, there's cops everywhere, and people are running. And
Damn.
And Minnetonka police say this ended as well as anyone could have expected. Again, Ian Wagner is in the the Hennepin County Jail. He has not yet been formally charged. Reporting live in Minnetonka.
That's crazy as hell. And people do not want to sit there and talk about it. And that's what's wild to me. And that's what's wild to me. Oh, yes, definitely. I'm going to see if I can. I can't hit it. Yeah. You know, just like within Rochester, it's like everybody is so calm, and a lot of people don't want to talk about the situations that happened out in Casson because it's coming to an area near you. That's the one crazy part. It's coming to a community near you, and honestly, people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to go look up. Here, I'm gonna give y'all homework. Go look up that article about Casson, Minnesota, and what happened out there on the first-degree attempted murder charges. Go look it up, and then y'all tell me that it's not coming to a town near you. I want y'all to say it loud and proud that it's not coming to a town near you. Then maybe I'll believe it. Next, I want to get into, so I know Bobby and Jeff have been in the news a lot lately, right? This is about that. So the last time that I seen anything about an ethics complaint was about these two, was Bobby Champion. And I seen Nicole Miller's out there. I didn't use that experience. I used Black. And what I could find was Jeff Hayden and Bobby Champion. So I wanted to get into that, right? And it says that this is by Tina Burnside. It said independent investigation needed in ethics complaints against Senators Hayden and Champion. The second act of the Elephant and Monkey Show, or Donkey Show, played out at the state capitol last week. The hearing on ethics complaints filed against DFL Senators Jeff Hayden and Bobby Joe Champion failed to seriously examine the issues and instead exposed the unwillingness of legislators to address allegations of misconduct within the ranks and to govern the ethical behavior of its members. So this isn't anything new. The same thing that GOP is bringing up, Mark Johnson and their ethics complaint, the same thing that they brought up about Bobby is the same thing that was brought up in 2014 and 13 when they were going through all this. So the hearing of the Senate Subcommittee on Ethical Conduct on November 5th again resulted in a deadlock vote, similar to the action taken by the committee last month at its first hearing on the matter involving ethics allegations against Hayden. The bipartisan made-up of two Democrats, Sandra Pappas, that's the same lady, and Tony Lowry of the DFL Carrick, and two Republicans, Michelle Fishbach and Bill Ingersoll of Alexandria. And that's, everybody knows who that is. The DFL senators did not want to investigate the complaints. The Republican senators wanted to investigate the matters. I honestly believe that's what we're going to go through again. I don't see much changing. You know what I'm saying? Is I honestly believe that you're going to see a 2-2-way tie. And how do we break that? How do we, as the people, break that? Because the people that are in charge, besides our executive, like Donald Trump, or, even our Minnesota State's attorney, our governor, our Senate speaker, it's all DFL, right? So we understand that even though there is a power sharing agreement in the Senate, I really wouldn't go. I wouldn't sign any. I swear to God, if I was a Republican, I wouldn't allow any bill on any omnibus or anything to go through till they got accountability for Miller and Champion and all other DFL candidates, elected officials. I won't even say candidates, elected officials, and even Republicans whose names have been tied in with nonprofits all throughout Minnesota. And I guarantee it, you're going to see most legislators, both Senate and the House, a lot of members you're going to see, because even it's not Bobby, it's Liz Bolden, it's Andy Smith. It's Walter Hudson. There's a lot of people that out here that write directed funds to organizations. So what kind of, is anything involved for you? Because I want to tell you right now, I'm going to start looking up a lot of these motherfuckers, because when you look through this, these 990 forms, and you look at their board members, and you're seeing former city council members, you're seeing former board for the park board, they're on there. When you're seeing county commissioners, when you're seeing ex-mayors and ex-police chiefs, and you're like, wait, how are we getting any change if anybody who controls the money all has skeletons in their closet? Because I will tell you right now, how are you taking money from the Minneapolis Foundation, and RT Ryback runs that? So there's blood on your hands if you took in that money from the Minneapolis Foundation. So that's why I don't look at none of the CARE, BLM, CUAPB. They all get their money from the state and city. So how are we going to get any kind of change if this? I don't understand that. We're expecting city and state funds to make change in our community. That's not how we make change. It's definitely not how we make change, right? After hours of debate, the subcommittee ducked its obligation to investigate and indefinitely postponed future hearings until the State Department of Commerce and other agencies complete their investigations. This is unacceptable. After 2 hearings, the public is not informed about the truth of the allegations. What is apparent is that the process of allowing the legislature to govern itself regarding allegations of unethical conduct is flawed. And I believe that is going to happen. We're going to see the I think we'll have more questions than we honestly will have answers when it comes to this committee. Because if you don't, and even subpoena power, I believe that the subpoena power would help. But understanding that Katie Blackwell can even mislead her testimony into more like perjury, and people think that it's the truth, how can we not see that with people that are in our own communities? So Pappas, who was the chair of subcommittee, was quoted in the Star Tribune stating, "We are not an investigatory body. I do not have a level of comfort to do an investigation." She's literally telling you she's scared to do one. That so I don't have an investigatory body. I don't either, but I'm willing to do it because I have that level of comfort to do an investigation that you guys don't, because they go at your own members. How do we feel like going at the number 3 Democrat in Minnesota? How are people not supposed to be uncomfortable? It's going to take an uncomfortable feeling to do the right thing. That's what a lot of people just do not want to talk about. Right. Just like with the January 6th, I will say it, there is a lot of things that we never get as people. We get more questions than we get answers, just like with Jeffrey Epstein, just like with, what happened in Oklahoma with the bombing. We always have more questions, even when it came to getting rid of these so-called, like what I'm trying to think, Waco, or what happened in Utah when it came to these different communities that maybe we don't agree with, but still should be able to do what they want to do because they pay taxes. Y'all take money from drug traffickers, you take money from sex traffickers, human traffickers, organ traffickers. So where is the line of what is right and what is wrong? Because at the end of the day, as long as you're getting paid behind it, it's okay. But if you're not getting paid for it, then it's not. So what is it? This statement contradicts the Senate rules. Pursuant to Senate Rule 55.3, the Subcommittee on Ethical Conduct shall investigate a complaint made in writing by a member of the Senate under oath. The subcommittee also has the power to issue subpoenas. Thus, Pappas claims that the subcommittee is not an investigatory body is simply not accurate. The committee can conduct an investigation, but instead it is unwilling to do so. Thank you. Moreover, Senate Rules 55.6 states the subcommittee may appoint special counsel to provide expert advice on how to conduct its proceedings. The subcommittee may appoint a suitable person to conduct the investigation and report findings of fact and recommendations for action to the subcommittee. Thus, if the subcommittee is uncomfortable doing its job to investigate the ethics complaint, then it should refer the matter to a neutral and independent investigator. Written request to the subcommittee for an independent investigation has been made twice by the advocacy group Not on Our Watch on October 21st. Not on Our Watch requested an independent investigation. Pappas responded to the request by simply informing the group that the subcommittee will conduct a hearing and that the meeting was open to the public. But we didn't get no answers, and that's what continuously we always get is more questions than we get answers. Can any senator initiate a complaint? Not on Our Watch sent a second letter to the committee dated October 23rd, again renewing its request for an independent investigation. Pappas responded stating the Senate rules do not provide the subcommittee with the necessary authority, and that the charge of the subcommittee on ethical conduct is to act on complaints issued by the Senate members themselves rather than the public. While the public may not be able to initiate an independent ethics investigation, any member of the Senate, including the subcommittee, can do so. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to look at who's on the subcommittee, and me and Robert today, and if he hasn't been on it, because Robert's smart than a motherfucker. That's what these people don't understand. Y'all think you have indoctrinated people on your team. I've got people that are free thinkers and that think for themselves. So when they see wrong, they point it out. It's not about politics. And that's what I love about Robert. It's not about race. It's not about politics. It's about right and wrong, because we all do it. We all do it. But we shouldn't be doing it to each other when we're all trying to get to the same place. But instead, we have these leaders and gatekeepers. It says that an independent investigation is necessary for the following reasons: to avoid the impasse that has resulted given the composition of the subcommittee, which is made up 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. An independent investigation would allow for the process to be carried out with any potential of voting along party lines. Witnesses need to be subpoenaed to testify in questions under oath. Witnesses should not be allowed to make self-serving statements without the benefit of examination of such statements by an impartial and neutral fact finder. Documents need to be subpoenaed from the Minneapolis Public Schools, Community Standards Initiative, Community Action, Senator Hayden, and Senator Champion. Taxpayers deserve answers. And we do deserve answers, because why are we giving money to organizations that are using it fraudulently? While it's important to give Hayden and Champion due process, it's also important to give the taxpayers answers to these serious allegations about misuse of public money. The public funding allocated to CSI was supposed to go to helping close the achievement gap between Black and white children. The public funding allocated to the community action was supposed to help low-income residents with various services, including weatherization, energy assistance, and job training. The legislator also owes them due process in discovering the truth on these allegations. I definitely agree. It's the same thing that we're going through now. We need answers. Why should we as people be okay with any of this if we're not getting answers? Right? Shouldn't we have an independent investigation that's not along party lines, that people can sit here and go through? Because I will tell you like this, is that when we sit here and talk about CSI, it's not just the TV show, but the so-called Community Standards Initiative. It's supposed to be the Minnesota's ethical watchdog, but right now it's a barking with no bite. After the 2 hearings and serious ethics allegations against state senators Hayden and Bobby Joe, guess what the public knows? Absolutely nothing more than before. No clarity, no accountability, no truth. Let's keep it 100. If these were 2 Black senators under fire for transparency was real, the truth would already be on every channel, but instead it's smoke and mirrors and silence. But an independent investigation, period, we need. The people aren't stupid. We see the play, power protecting power. The same system that's quick to punish the poor suddenly gets real patient when it's one of their own. Where's the real CSI when we need it? And I will say that. Where is the real CSI? Where is nobody wants to do it. We all get uncomfortable. And I got it, I will be honest. This is something that I've heard over and over and over again when talking to people. Well, don't say my name because I don't know. I want to keep my job or I want to keep my friends. So you don't want to see change. But I get it. And I, some of them people I really respect because they're truthful with it. They might not say it publicly, but a lot of things are said behind closed doors. Behind closed doors. I mean, even with me, I said I was going to do this publicly, and I am. Yesterday, I made not yesterday, over the weekend, there was a post about Nasir Nasir, and I didn't like include him. I didn't maybe because I think a lot of people seen it that, oh, you're talking about all these people are fraudsters. And so, I mean, I get it, to be honest, but a lot of it was, and I forgot this, I deleted it. So, I mean, I don't even remember the guy's name who shared it. I know it was some Shun Kong or some shit. But to me, I really didn't care. And I need to apologize. So I had a conversation with somebody yesterday that vouched for this person, and said that, well, they don't get state grants. They don't work with the police. They actually do want to help our community. So I apologize. And I sent him a message. And being a man, hey, like, if this isn't true, because I honestly, I don't have any evidence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be the first to say it if I had evidence or not. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I just have allegations and rumors, and it doesn't hold water if there isn't any evidence. So not saying that it's not true, but I shouldn't be behind that without proof. So that's why I apologized to Nasir, because I don't want people out here just to be ganging up on people with no evidence. And just because you got pictures and that's not, no. Because when you look at 990 forms and you're seeing people with occupancy and travel and then miscellaneous, and you're like, damn, they don't even got that many. Y'all just flying first class. Y'all buying expensive ass hotels and all. And then you look under what miscellaneous means, or occupancy or travel, and you're like, oh, damn. So basically it just mean anything. You just put a number in there. You know what I'm saying? Because we need more audits. And even when you look at a lot of these big foundations and you see the audits adding up, or you see the complaints, and it's the same shit that we talk about. Conflicts of interest, ethics. We got some of the weakest ethics laws in Minnesota. And that's on purpose, I feel like, because it works for them to keep them in office. That's why we see all these 8 and 9 year term House representatives. And what have they done for our communities? Nothing. I feel like they haven't done anything. And I would continually say that is that we're at a time where we should be standing up, and we're not. A lot of people are sitting down, and they continue to have been. Or it's not about Black lives anymore. Your fight is about something else. And what is it about? Because we all have the rights. And I can, one thing that we can all agree on, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we fucking don't. That's the problem, is that nobody ever agrees on the matter that's at hand. Even when it came to Justin Eichhorn, some people are like, oh, it was 17. What do you mean? That he was 40. We're not gonna make that any way type of right. No, we're not, because that is somebody that was doing something evil and demonic in our community, and we were not cutting it out. We're not getting it out the way. Right. Nope. And that's I just seen a post about Nancy Holden and her law firm and how they're erasing all the photos of Walls and Frey. And what people don't even understand is that Frey's wife worked inside that, and maybe she still does in that lobbyist group. And then you wonder why these people are all paid, because they all work together. They're each fat in each other's pockets off of taxpayer money. Yeah, and people don't care because that's my friend. That's my ride or die. They wouldn't do that. Yes, they do. So y'all just saying y'all won't even believe the evidence in the paperwork, because when you go, here's the thing that I want people to understand is that since L. Flowers and McAfee want to go on here and say, certain shit, how come when a white man asks you that, and I'm not bringing up a race or anything like that, but puts it in, y'all just hang up the phone or, oh, that's not true, blah, blah. But there's never no explanation. So if you're not explaining it, then how is it right? How is it right? I would never get that. How is it right? It makes me sad, the world that we live in, because we're in such a society that we believe that because there's all these people that think it's right, that it's right, instead of knowing that it's wrong, and we're going to stand up to the wrong, we'll stand up. I don't get that. There'll be more people on the other side of the standing up for that bogus ass shit instead of people standing up for what's right. And I will totally I won't understand that. Because just because you have more people standing on that side doesn't mean that you're right. That doesn't mean, it just means that you have more people that are stupid, that are blind, and that are followers, and that don't want to see the truth over there. So I would rather be with my little group of 10 than to be with thousands of people, because you never know what you're going to get out of that thousands, because you believe that you're going to get the truth. You believe that you're going to get transparency, all the things that they scream, truth, transparency. But it's not what you get. It's all one game. And then when you even talk to Willie Lynch syndrome, oh, it's not real. Nobody's saying that it's real. But if you look at it, how are we not in that? How are we not in that? That's what I don't understand. So I won't be live tomorrow. I don't know. I got court. It's online, it's on Zoom or whatever, but I have a court tomorrow. So I won't be on. Maybe I probably will go on at some point tomorrow. It's the same thing, So Joe asked, what if the reason why Senator Mitchell's controlled substance aspect of her burglary disappeared at the BCA is because it would get elevated to attempted murder, sneak fentanyl in stepmom's glass of water on? No way. Damn, it's crazy. That I could honestly see that, because how many times were we lied to by the BCA and Drew Evans when it came to the George Floyd trial? How many other times have we caught Drew Evans from the BCA in lies to the community? So I believe that. And again, if we had people that stuck to their guns, and I do see people going up there, but I don't believe it stick to your guns, because you're allowing Nicole Mitchell to vote and decide on Minnesotans of what they do. And just like today, we're going to see in a special election, right? It's the primaries today. So if you live in Justin Eichhorn's, I don't even know what district it is, but there is a special election going on today. It's the primary. So go out there and vote for your candidate. Get out there and make your voice heard. Right. No, but I agree. That's one thing that I will agree on. I definitely will agree on. I want everybody to have a great Tuesday. Get out there, get involved. Doesn't matter if it's city council, doesn't matter if it's school board, doesn't matter if it's county commissioner. Get involved. Stop being silent. And with that being said, win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well, and y'all have a great one.
Tell me your son. It's perfect. Far from perfect, although I'm striving. I survived when they tried to crucify me. Couldn't stop my shine, the orb was blinded. I'm polished cause I did the knowledge, kept grinding. Far from perfect, although I'm striving. I survived when they tried to crucify me. Couldn't stop my shine, the orb was blinding. I'm polished cause I did the knowledge and kept grinding. When they hating, I don't blame them, I just tell it how it is. Speak the truth, hop in the booth and they commence to bless your ears. All that capping ain't my fabric, this a different thread count. Stumbling, ain't falling, so I step with fresh style. The pressure I'm applying, got the non-believers stressed out. Need the big body beamer hogging up the lane. An umbrella can't save you from the rain unless it's bulletproof. A lot of these niggas examples for what you shouldn't do. Far from perfect, although I'm striving. I survived when they tried to crucify me. Couldn't stop my shine, the orb was blinded. I'm polished cause I did the knowledge, kept grinding.